Okay.
Are we ready? Okay. Yeah, I think we are ready now. Okay, so yeah, like I said, I'm so excited to be doing this with you. And I know that we are all, for a great time this afternoon again. And it's always a delight to be here every Sunday on House of Saviors. So Zuriel, we're going to be talking about troubled children, to addictions, sex, and all of these things today. So let me first of all start by saying that, you know, raising children is a whole lot about what happens early in the life of that child, about the upbringing, the environment, the love, the discipline. At least that is what you have taught us. You know, and you know, we know that a child adopts the unconscious programming of whoever raised him, because a child is like a blank phone. You know, whatever apps that is being installed into that child, we know that would run in the background of the life of that child. So there's also this saying that, you know, you've also taught us that a child is like a crystal pure water flowing out of the divine. So this afternoon, we want to be looking at what point does this pure water, does it become troubled or adulterated? So my first question to you this afternoon, is that who is a troubled child? What are the likely characteristics and behaviors what likely characteristics and behavior does a troubled child exhibit? Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I celebrate Praise for aka Papi. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. So first and foremost, a child would basically take on both conscious and unconscious wiring systems that is being given to the child, either by way of formal training or informal training. And the first place that child takes it in, it's basically from the home. Normally, I would always jokingly say that the very first person the child comes in contact with is the gynecologist, the doctors, the nurses who bettered the child. So children are emotional beings. And children are basically, I always characterize children as spiritual beings, as much as I see them as physical beings. But children are also energy takers and energy givers. So the very first contact a child is coming in contact with or meeting when a child is bettered, from the hospital to everyone the child comes in contact with, basically have a way they form or inform the child. So the child is taking both conscious training, unconscious training that child is taking. And like you rightly said, yes, one of my practicals I would always use is saying this is a child. This is how a child, we all came into this world clean, clear, crystal clear. None of us came into this world troubled emotionally, maybe except where a child is born with a form of deformity or another kind of ailment, basically. But we all came into this world like this, clean, clear crystal. You can see my glass cup. You can see the water inside. There's no particles in this water. So basically, I would call this glass cup Zuriel. I'll call the glass cup Zuriel. But beyond the glass cup, my content is the water inside. And this is the content that defines me as a child. This is where everything settles in as a child. So I come home and things are happening in the home. I have another content here. Ayodele, don't say anything, just keep quiet. Don't call the name of this content. I have another content here. And this content is dark. This water is clear. You now find out that when you are pouring things into the child, so the first people, sometimes you have people saying to a child, you're not good enough. You are no lodo. You're a silly child. Shut up. You're a fool. You're an idiot. You are this. You begin to compare the child. You begin to say all sorts to the child. This is what you have turned that child into. Now, it is not showing on the physical being of that child, but that child has been formed. Your seed inside that child has already formed that child. And people tend to forget that children are emotional beings. Adults basically forget that children are emotional beings, and children will react at a certain point in their life. So they tend to say that a misbehaving child is a child seeking for attention. So there is a possibility that your child at home is the amazing child that you feel you have raised. Your child in church, your child in the mosque is that child that is prim and proper, the child that is quiet. But once the child goes out of the house, the child begins to exhibit troubled behavior, troubled character. And one of the troubled behavior, troubled character is the child becomes a bully, or the child becomes so timid that the child is battling with low self-esteem. Now, if your child stopped bedwetting for a very long time, maybe the child stopped bedwetting at 8 months, before 1 year, or even 1 year, and all of a sudden, your child starts bedwetting at the age of 2, at the age of 3, at the age of 4, something is basically happening to that child. Your child all of a sudden just stops, does not want to go to school. The child becomes withdrawn. Your child that is the talkative, the life wire of your home. All of a sudden, the child just suddenly becomes withdrawn and gets very quiet. And the next thing, you're doing testimony, you're doing Thanksgiving. That, oh, my child that talks too much is no longer talking. Don't do that testimony. That testimony may get you into trouble. There is most likely something happening to that child. Or maybe your quiet child suddenly becomes an outburst, begins to show aggressive behavior. Your child no longer plays with the sibling. Any small thing, the child is striking out, the child is eating, discussing. Something is most likely happening. And if your child consistently is asking you at home, maybe the child has noticed that you and mommy, you and daddy are always fighting, or maybe you and your siblings are always fighting. Mom, what is happening? Daddy, what is happening? That child is seeking for answers. So there is basically no one fixed behavior for a child to show that they are troubled. Every child has a way they exhibit their own troubles, either to their parents or to their teachers or to one auntie or uncle that they like. So it now takes someone who is very observant to notice that this child is troubled, this child is seeking for attention, this child wants answer, to get into the world of that child and find out what is happening with the child.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's awesome. So you said something. You said a misbehaving child is a child seeking attention. And that's really very powerful. So it's not just for us to see maybe some of these signs in a child, and we just feel that, oh, this child, there's something wrong with this child or whatever, and start blaming the child. Maybe it's an opportunity for us to ask ourselves, what could be the matter? Okay, so in your own opinion, healing educator, what factors do you think contribute to a child being troubled? And how do these factors impact their behavior and well-being? What factors and how do these factors impact their behavior?
What are the factors that basically contribute to it? Yeah. One, when a child has been abused, either sexually abused, physically abused. Two, when a child is experiencing domestic violence in the home. Three, when the child, so I'm not my 1, 2, 3, I'm saying it is not, I'm just calling 3 to help me. So, well, maybe when the child is basically also battling with attachment disorder. Maybe when the child is, so you're comparing your child with another person's child. Maybe your child is not doing well academically and you're comparing the child with the younger sibling or the older sibling. And you're not taking time out to find out if this child is battling with dyslexia, if this child has slow learning, if this child is basically battling with autism. All you're just doing is you're comparing the child. Or maybe the child himself or herself is seeing that a certain cousin, a certain family treat their own children so well, why you treat them less than that? And there's one thing, children are aware of your financial status as a parent. You may think your child is not aware. Your child is basically aware of your financial status. So when your child begins to realize that you have and you do not want to spend on them, even when you feel that what they're asking for is frivolous, it is in your place for you to explain it to them. When a child is being bullied, either being bullied in school or being bullied at home, these are some of the factors that affect a child. Then what could be the consequences on that child? There's a possibility that the child starts academically starts declining. So if it's a child that is doing so well in school, the child may start declining academically. The child may want to start avoiding going to school, especially if their trigger is in school, if their abuser is in school, if the one bullying them is in school. If the person is at home also, the child may always want to go out with you. The child may always want to go out with you. The child may not want to stay with a specific uncle or with a specific auntie. There's this mindset to always have a parent tend to have to say, oh, I don't want to leave my girl child with the male figure in my house. Your male child, your boy child is not even safe with the female figure in your house. I don't know if you saw it. I think it was a news that trended this week of a maid. I think it's 16-year-old maid who was really nice, according to what the madam was saying. That she was really a very hardworking girl. Before she comes back from work, this girl would have taken care of her son. I think who is 1. The child would have baited the child. You know, the child is already asleep. She's not coming back from the office to now stress herself. One day she just decided, let her just check her CCTV camera, because she didn't see the need to, but she was just, you know, the instincts of a mother when something is not going on well in your house. And she just opened her CCTV camera and saw this girl pulling off her son's pampers and was sexually abusing our 1-year-old. Practically slept on the child. Some people said, oh, maybe she was giving the child a blowjob. I didn't hear that, but I think what I heard was she slept on the child after she had removed the child pampers and was committing sexual acts on that child. So you find out that the child is 1. People will say, oh, what does the child know? But a seed is being planted in that child. The child, even though, yes, the child's sexuality is forming at that age. So the child becomes 14, the child is 15, and the child just gets addicted to sex. And you're wondering, where did it start from? What happened? But something had already altered the normal growth, the normal development of that child, and has introduced the child into the world of early sex. That child, maybe at the age of 2 or maybe at the age of 3, may just start playing with his penis. And you're wondering why you're playing with your penis, remove your hand. But because the child has already been introduced to excitement by an adult. So you don't know where this is coming from. So these are some of the consequences that would happen. Some children just get addicted to things. They get addicted to things. They may get addicted to smoking, get addicted to drug taking, but they get addicted. It may be as simple as getting addicted to food. It may not even be drugs. It may be food, and it may be a behavior that you know that is damaging to you psychologically, and also damaging to you physically. So recently, one of the most recent damaging behavior teenagers are exhibiting right now are self-harm. Slitting themselves, slitting their laps, slitting places you would not see. They are in pain, they are crying out for pain, they are seeking for attention, they are seeking for answers, they're seeking for help. But as an adult, if you don't know, all you'll be saying is, this child has been possessed by demon, this child needs deliverance, no. something has happened to that child. Most likely happened to the child as far back as when that child was 2, as far back when that child was 4 months. We've had instances where 3-month-old children, babies, were sexually abused. We've had instances where 6-month-old babies were sexually abused. And people will say they will not know. No, something has been ignited in that child. So when a pattern, when you begin to notice a certain pattern of behavior, damaging behavior, you want to begin to ask questions. But the thing is, for some parents, they are not even aware until it gets to this stage. They're not even aware. So when the first drop came in, they are not aware. Second blood came in, they are not aware. Until the child has become this. And the manifestation of whatever that child is doing has gotten to this place. And that is where you see parents start seeking, running helter-skelter for help. What you are not observant about, what you are not willing to notice as a parent, you would not be able to nip in the bud. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I don't know what happened. My screen just went blank.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what happened. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, like you said, observation is key. Observation is one of the most important skill that a
parenting skills.
Yeah, that a parent should have. If you don't have observation as a parent, it's going to be very, very difficult. Right from when your child, is born to, that child
to adulthood.
To adulthood, yeah. To adulthood. Observation is very, very key. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, so I want to ask now that, how can one differentiate between, there are some typical childhood behaviors that comes with certain ages. How do we differentiate this behavior from the behaviors of a troubled child? How can we, because what is normal for a 3-year-old or normal for an 8-year-old, how do we know that this is an 8-year-old that is not troubled, or this is an 8-year-old that is just being a child? Is there any signs that can help the parent to know this on time, to know, okay, is my 8-year-old a troubled child? Are there any difference? So how can we differentiate?
So when yeah. Okay. So it is a normal thing for a 2-year-old to spill water.
Yeah.
It's a normal thing for a 2-year-old when the rain is falling, for that child to go inside the rain, to want to have a bath in the rain. It's a normal thing for a 2-year-old to scream. Even for an 8-year-old, it's a normal thing for them to do some certain things. But you see, when your child starts acting in a way that you did not train that child, the habits or character are not things that are not part of your family values in your home, and you have over time, over the years, inculcated your family values into this child, and you've seen things that is strange, you want to ask that child question. One of the things I don't expect an 8-year-old to do is to consistently tell a lie, or to consistently pick things that is not the child's own. So your child goes to school every day and comes back home with a pencil or a biro or a book that is not his own. And you ask the child, and the child is not giving you a tangible explanation. I do not expect an 8-year-old that you as a parent, what if you don't do it at home? An example is the twerking that is out now. The twerking, the waist turning, the tongue bringing out when you're dancing, which has become a norm in our society. But if it is something you as a parent do not do in your house, and your child starts doing it, you want to find out where that child learned it from. Is it from school or is it from a friend? So habits that you know that are damaging. If maybe 2 years ago, you said, even last year, if as at January this year, you said to your child, you can't have that Pepsi until after you take your dinner. And the child will say, okay, mommy, no problem. Or you can't have sweets. You know, we don't take sweets in this house. Anything after 5 p.m. And the child says, mommy, no problem. Okay, I understand. And all of a sudden, your child starts asking for things that the child ordinarily know that you do, it's not acceptable in the house, or do that is not acceptable in the house. You might want to find out what's happening to your child. Where's your child learning this habit from? Or your child starts striking, your child starts cussing. Even your home, you don't use words like Omale, you're an idiot, you're a fool. And your child is using those words. You want to ask questions. Or all of a sudden, your child just suddenly becomes aggressive towards you, towards a specific parent, or towards a specific sibling in the house. You want to ask questions. Not a behavior that is acceptable. A 2-year-old will spill water, and I can't slap that 2-year-old because an expected behavior. A 2-year-old may not want to enter the bathroom at 7 a.m. when you go wake that 2-year-old from bed, because it is a normal thing. That child is enjoying the sleep at that time. But I don't expect that I'm waking up a 14-year-old that knows that you are going to school the next day. And it has become a norm that every time you are waking you up, you are taking more than 30 minutes to get up. You are dragging your feet. And it has not been like that before. Something is happening to that child. And questions must be asked. It is not abusing the child, it's not condemning, but asking what is wrong, what has gone wrong. Do you want to talk to me? Or do you want to talk to someone else?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. So I just want to cap what you have just said in 3 things: that a troubled behavior, the difference between just a normal or a typical childhood challenges and a troubled
behavior of a child.
Yes, can be, maybe when that behavior is extended, like you said, over a period of time, or maybe when it becomes a pattern rather than an occasional occurrence. So you might want to be thinking, okay, is my child troubled, or what is wrong with this child? You might want to start asking questions, or perhaps even the severity of the behavior. So thank you so much for that. I hope we are all enjoying this. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat room, and we will take them even as I see them. So let me quickly ask you another question this afternoon. And I want to digress a little bit into drugs and sex and all of that. So, the drug industry is becoming, is booming across the globe, with things getting massively involved. And also sex has also become a major issue with parents dealing with porn, masturbation, and all of that, especially with over 300,000 pornographic websites and all of that. So what do you do when your child is addicted to a habit that is messing up his identity? And what do you do when your child is threatening you about his sexuality and claiming that he or she isn't the gender of birth? So I think this is becoming, more and more pronounced in our world today. How can a parent, because you never can tell which parent out there, or even in the house today, is going through that. Thank you.
So when it comes to porn, addiction, when it comes to sex, you find out that everything has sex right now. Everything, including children cartoon. Everything basically have sex. And the children themselves, on their phones, they have soft porn, or they have the hard porn on their phone. So we have over 1,000 sites that shows both soft porn and hard porn. And if you have five young adults or 5 teenagers, now I can say to you that they're already addicted to watching porn. That I can tell you for a given, that 3 of them are already addicted to watching porn. So as a parent, when you find out that your child is into porn, one of the first things you want to do is don't make noise. Don't scream. Please scream. Don't shout anything. Now don't start reading any psalms. So don't start reading don't go to any alpha. One of the first things you want to do with that child is to take your time. In fact, if you know you're going to scream, go into your room or go outside somewhere, go and scream, go and make noise. Discuss with that child that very day, but let the child know that you have seen it. And because sometimes a lot of children were actually introduced to porn from the home. So you have the child using mommy's phone or daddy's phone or daddy's laptop, and the child just stumbled on porn on that phone. Or maybe the child is basically using a laptop and something pops up, and out of curiosity, the child clicks on it, and that is how it happens. Now, you want to make sure that you have a discussion around sex. You have a discussion around sex. But I would say that sometimes some parents are not even in the best position to have a discussion with their children, because you would confuse them the more and you will cause more damage. So one of the first things I will always say is, can you ask your child, because even the child will never be comfortable talking to you about it. The child will not be comfortable talking to you about it. Can you ask the child, how long has this been going on? Where did you discover this? Who introduced you to this? I'm your mommy, I'm your daddy, but I am not an expert. And children tend to appreciate that. I may not be the best person to discuss this with you, but I think every one of us need help. And we need to see a counselor about this. We need to see a therapist about this. Because if the child says to you, this has been going on for 6 months, it has been going on for 4 months, it has been going on for 5 months, then you know that you have a child. And you ask the child, so how often do you watch? And the child is open to you to say to you, oh, I watch it almost every day. You know that you have a child that's already battling with addiction. And you want to get help straight for that child. And as a parent, you also want to go in for help. So I always say to parents, when your child is in therapy or in counseling for addiction or anything, as a parent, go in. Because the moment you realize that your child is battling with a certain habit or with a certain substance, you already messed up as a parent. And your mindset, the way you would perceive that child would be totally different from the way you perceive the child before you discovered that. So for every time, there's a tendency that for every time you're scolding your child, you want to say to the child, you are the only one, maybe your younger ones were not doing it. You have started, you are the one that introduced them into it. Or you want to you want to use words that would make that child start battling with low self-esteem, or make the child start feeling unworthy. Sometimes some of these habits that these children run into, or they use as solace, as comfort, is because unworthy, feeling less human from the home. So they needed to look for something that would make them feel good. They needed to look for something that would make them happy. And it's a way of running away from the troubles. So when I say children are emotional beings, children are emotional beings. of us sit here, we all battled a certain form of addiction at one point or the other. I battled my own kind of addiction. So when it also comes to gender issues, so recently I was speaking with a parent and the parent said, God forbid, it will never happen to my child.
God forbid is not a parenting strategy.
I honestly said amen. I helped that parent to say amen, honestly. And my amen is very, very sincere. I only said amen. But unfortunately, this particular parent's child is already battling with gender identity.
Oh my gosh.
So gender identity is not only it's not only outside America. It's not in America, it's not in London alone, it's not in Canada alone. Some of them are already and it's becoming worse day by day because a lot of them watch skits.
Yeah.
A lot of them are watching skits. A lot of them are seeing the things that is happening. It's like the ones that are dressing like females are making more money than the ones that are dressing like they're dressing in their natural God-given gender. And we all know some certain individuals in Nigeria today that have made so much money, even though some of us know that they are lying and are making it look as if that the gender God came into this world with is of less value, is worthless, is useless. They say education is scam. They are now making gender scam. So you have, and it is conditioning, making, and it's business for some of these people. But unfortunately, the teenagers and young adults today are not seeing the business venture these people are using it for. In their mind, they feel that is how these people are operating. This is them. So you have some of them saying, I am not attracted to a male. I'm attracted to a female. This year alone, between last year and this year, I would say that at least I've worked with, no, not between last year, between late last year and this year, maybe I had five clients.
Wow.
Of teenagers. The oldest will be 24. The youngest is 11.
11. Oh.
11 years. And so, like I said earlier on, that it is when it has gotten to this point, some parents get to see when your child begins to demand for certain things, your male child begins to act in a certain way. Your male child begins to demand for certain things that is feminine, or your female child is demanding for certain things that is masculine. Ask, why, where is this coming from? Why do you need this? Do you have friends that are already doing this? Do you have friends? Who are your friends? You know, sometimes some of us just accept friends and we're not checking the parental values or the values of the home that child is coming out from. When your child begins to mix with children whose family vision and family values does not align with yours, that is the number one sign that you may possibly have future chaos or a close nearby chaos with that child. So I would always say to parents, visit, your friend has a BFF, visit the BFF house.
Even when you're not invited.
Even when you're not invited, visit. My mom, my own mother was doing that. She will come to the house and visit you. Oh, hi, while growing up, hi, how are you? Good afternoon, ma. I can't. Oh, I'm Bukola, because she calls me Bukola. I'm Bukola's mother. I know your daughter is an. How are you? I just said come and greet you people. I don't know how she does it. But you see, whatever that mother or the father will say to my mom, when she gets back home, she will tell you, I don't want to see you with that person anymore.
Well, I've used the opportunity to size up.
Yes, she has sized them up. I don't want to see you with the person anymore. Because she will say it the way she understood it. Today, parents are begging their female daughters to come home with male friends. And honestly, I don't blame them. Today, parents are begging their male daughters and their male sons to come home with female friends. There is this age your child will get to. Please ask them to come home with their female friends. Ask them to come home with their male friends.
Thank you so much.
So that you know what you are dealing. Yes, so that you know what you are dealing with. See, the era of my daughter must move only with female friends is no longer tenable now. I can say to you, 5 girls, put 5 teenagers down. One of them is battling gender identity. One of them is saying to themselves or to herself, I am not straight, I'm a lesbian. One of them is battling with addiction. Maybe one is the only straight person among them. And if you have to look at that straight child, you have to go back to that child's home. It's not as if even the children that are battling with these things, as if they did not come from a very good home. They came, some of them actually came from very amazing homes. Okay. But you see that 1 minute of not having an amazing communication, that 1 minute of not bonding with your children, that 1 minute of assuming everything is okay, will turn to this. I have a friend she has just two amazing boys, and they are twins. She is intentional about communicating with these 2 boys. The day one of them decided to start wearing dreads, and I'm talking about a child who has graduated, though, not that he's still in school. He was already doing his NYC when he started wearing dreads. They had to have a discussion about it. So why are you wearing dread? What is it doing for you? What is it doing to you? You talk. But sometimes parents just expect that their children would know how to parent themselves. I'm coming. Let me show you something. I'm going to show you something. Just 1 second. I'm going to show you something. Can you see this board?
Yes.
I'm coming. That particular board is me currently working with a client who is in his early 60s. Yes. He's in his early 60s. And the issues have been years and years of addiction.
Wow.
Years and years of challenges. However, by the time we had to trace the root cause, years and years of unforgiveness, is to realize that he wasn't even coming from the parents. It was coming from the grandparents. Not even from the parents, but from the grandparents. So, as parents, you find out that there's a possibility you will parent your child the way you were parented if you're not intentional about and deliberate about the steps of your child. The way you will talk to your child when your child is between 1 and 5 years will be different from the way you talk to your child when your child is between 6 and 10. It will be different from the way you talk to your child when your child is between 11 and 13. Preteens, when your child, 11 and 12 or 10 and 12. When your child is between 13 and 15, the talk is different. 16 and 18, the talk is different. 19. Remember, a lot of them at 19, they are not under your roof for the next 3 months, for the next 4 months.
Yeah.
some of us that we know ourselves, that will say we're in the university, we can run away from Friday, come to Lagos, come and do party, go back to school on Monday. Your parents will call and say, I'm in school, I'm fine, I'm in school. Where I say, I'm in Lagos. You may even be on the same street where your parents are living. And the reason this is very glaring right now, and it's so obvious, right? It's because of the internet, because of social media. You go on social media. I sent someone something yesterday. If you go on TikTok now, there's a trend on TikTok where teenagers do live videos, and for the sake of 10,000 naira, 20,000 naira, they're undressing. They're undressing. You have live videos. You have like 4 people there, and a girl with a video is not covered. Maybe the other people watching, their videos are covered. You see a guy say, okay, hold a pillow, cover your, oh yeah, remove your top, you get remove your bra and shorts, remove your pants, and you get remove and show. For how much? For 10,000, for 20,000 naira. Some of these children, their parents are downstairs in that same house. But what they will do is they will lock the door. And they will do all this. So when you're not observant as a parent, what is happening? Yeah, some of them, they blocked their parents too. So even on your WhatsApp status, you may not even see your child's status.
That's true.
You may not even find your child on Instagram. You may not find them on TikTok, on Facebook. And you may not even find them on Twitter, and you're happy that, yes, my child is on social media. What's, like they will say, what's will be wahala, wahala? They are there.
Your report card is waiting for you. All right.
They are there. So you don't leave parenting to chances. Don't leave parenting to the hands of your teachers, the hands of the pastors, the hands of the imam. He's your child. That's why it bears your name.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's so insightful. Don't leave parenting to chances. You can't afford to just sleep for 1 minute. You can't afford not to communicate. Even the sex talk that we are talking about is not just a one-off thing. It should be an ongoing conversation around, your child or around the house. So I have some questions for you in the chat room. Somebody said, how can we get into their world to know what is happening? That is, how can we get into the world of our children? How do we even know what is happening? How do we even know what they are, into? So that's a question for you.
Okay. So, number one, you see, you are the father of your child. You are the mother of your child. Nobody's taking that from you. Nature has given you that gift. But you must also learn to operate. You're your child's mentor. You're your child's priest or imam or alpha. You are your child's friend. You are your child's first person to fail, first person to win. I think one of the biggest mistakes some parents have basically done over time is to make their children see them as demigods. You've never had any flaws, you've never done anything. Let me give a typical example. I was working with a teenager one time, and the teenager was battling suicidal ideation. And this child wasn't ready to talk. He had shut down, he had locked down. And that was the second time the child was battling with suicidal ideation. So when the child came in the first time, I understood. So I didn't even have lengthy discussion with the child the first time. We just chatted and left. So my next session with the child, I asked the child what was the favorite music, and the child told me. So immediately the child came in, I started playing the music. I just started playing, I'm not even saying anything. And the child started like this. He didn't know when he started nodding his head. What now happened? I allowed the child to start talking. And you don't understand, you don't know, you don't understand what is happening to me, you can't understand. And I said to the child, I will never understand what you're going through. Sincerely, I would never understand. I will never understand, but what me understand, and I can always understand is, you see me, when I was 10, I also tried to commit suicide. That is what I know. And that was the deal breaker. He stood up. He looked at me. You? I said, yes, me. He said, it's a lie. I said, yes. I said, it's not written on my forehead now. And I had to tell him some certain things. That was the deal breaker. That was how I was able to enter the child's world. So I said to parents, you cannot always raise up your parenting card with your children, especially when they are getting to a certain age. Because as they grow, they are already getting formed in their emotions. They are getting formed in their opinions. They are getting formed in ideas. They are building their own personal values and vision away from the ones that you have trained them up with. So in getting to their world, you must learn to listen to them. You must learn to be like them. You must come to their level. Sometimes you must try and learn their language. So let me say this, for our very religious people, not spiritual, you cannot be over-religious to the extent that you will not sit down with your child and ask deep questions. Number one, so tell me, who is your crush? Who are you loving? Who are you falling in love with? Who is that girl that is eyeing you? Who is that boy that is eyeing you? When you hear your child nodding to a song, ask the child, come and teach me. When they teach you that song, you will know the lyrics. You can't enter a child's world always only playing the parental card. I am your daddy, I am your mommy. No. You can enter their world when you understand, when you become their coach, their mentor, their friend. Give them responsibility. Delegate duties to them. Delegate leadership to them. Create family play, create family competition. Do daddy and son day out, mommy and daughter day out, daddy and daughter day out, mommy and daughter day out. You don't need to go to any 5-star hotel. If it's for you to go and sit down at one suya place, go and buy final size cream and drink the final size cream from one street to the other, it is good. Let your children know the pains, the challenges you also experience as a child. Some parents have buried where they are coming from. All your children understands with you is the gold and the glitters. When in the recent, you're actually coming from a place like this. Let your child know you were once like them. You experienced this, you battled with this.
Identifying with their weaknesses.
Identifying with them. You will shock them. It will be a deal breaker for you. When I tell them that, when I tell teenagers, oh, I also battled a certain kind of addiction. And I tell them my addiction, and they look at me and say, it's a lie. I say, is it true? Now, what do you expect now? Babe, learn to speak their language. When you do that, so if you have not been doing that, yes, don't speak about. If you have not been doing that, it may be difficult for you. It may look impossible, but you definitely break it because they will suspect you. They will feel what's wrong with her. Where she coming from? When she was not there this way. What is
she up to?
They will frustrate you. They will try to frustrate you. But so let me say this: some of you as parents don't have relationship with your own parents right now. And because of the way they treated you, because of the way they trained you, because of the things they did to you, you don't have a relationship with them. And that is the same pattern you're already developing with your children. So some of the things you're doing to your children are the things that are making them go look for solace in substance abuse, in behavior that is damaging and destructive to them, in things. Some of them is just rebellion. They're just rebelling against you, not because they're doing those things. They're just rebelling. They are not happy they are doing it. They just want to show you 9-9.
But they even want your attention.
Of course, they're seeking for your attention. They're seeking for your validation.
Yeah.
So they just want to show you shege, and that is on that route. So if your child is showing shege, please don't tell that child, I'm also going to show you shege banza. No.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. This is actually deep. So for us to get into their world, we need to come to their level, speak their language, do bonding activities with them. All right. I also have another question for you before I go ahead with my own questions. It says, can the parent initiate a conversation about pornography as a provocative means? Can a parent initiate conversation about pornography as a provocative means? I don't know what that person means by
proactive means.
Okay, proactive means. Oh, yeah, proactive means. Yeah.
So, so this is it. If you cannot teach to educate, if you cannot teach to empower, please don't talk about it. We have had instances where people have spoken things to curiosity of a child, and that has pushed that child to go and find out what it is and start doing it. So that is like sometimes when they say they're teaching sexuality education, I want to be sure it's teaching sexuality education, because some sexuality education is to teach to curiosity.
Not age appropriate.
Yes, not age appropriate. So make sure that if you're going, so you can't talk pornography with a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, the way you talk pornography with a 10, 11, and 12-year-old. So you need to understand the child you're speaking to as a proactive measures, because all you want to do is to help the child to abstain from those things. So if you know you can't speak to that child at that appropriate age, please, excuse me, look for someone who is trained. Who is trained, who works with children at that age, who will not come from the place of condemnation and judgment, but will come from the place of teaching, educating, and empowering the child to know the things the child is to abstain from and how the child can avoid those things. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we don't, in the name of wanting to have a conversation with our child, and then try and raise up the things that they don't even know, and trying to bring about unnecessary curiosity from them. Okay, I think there's one more question for you here. Okay, yes. How about a family whose values aligns with yours, but the child of that family just decided to walk in a different direction? How can we help as parents?
Okay, so at a point in time in my life, my values, you see my mother that was going to meet other people, telling them that going to find out about other people's family. Didn't even know that her own daughter was addicted to cigarettes.
Wow.
So you would find out that when a child is, that's why I said that some of them actually came out from a very amazing home, but something went wrong. And the child started battling with that thing that went wrong in that child's life. And some children are just trying to discover who they are. So sometimes you find that one friend a child would associate himself with, or one wrong teaching the child would listen to, or one wrong thing the child will encounter, has the capacity to pull that child away from whatever that child has learned. And that's what I was saying. I said earlier, do not assume all is well. Constant evaluation of your home. Constant values check of your home, of your child. Constant family meeting with your children. Sometimes it may not even be a physical communication. You can just tell your children, write whatever is bothering you, and just write and just drop it. What are the things you feel daddy is doing that you don't like, mommy is doing that you don't like? Values can be written down. visions can be written down, but if it is not inculcated to the inner depth of that child, it becomes impossible for that person to express it. So something definitely went wrong with that child. And we need to find out what has happened to the child. So sometimes you find parents in separation, divorce proceedings, and you just feel all is well with the children. Or maybe a certain parent changes their, passes on with that child. Or maybe a child is just going through emotional, they are going through their own emotional phase of pain that they themselves cannot explain what is happening. And you feel all is well. No. See, sometimes as little as moving from Lagos, moving from, so if you are living is, apologies to anyone that is living at Yaba, you're moving from Yaba on the mainland, and you're coming to Lekki on the island. You're hyping your status now. You want your child to have an amazing environment. That alone may make that child fall into depression or make that child start misbehaving. Because the child, that Yaba is where that child wants to live. So change of environment sometimes can affect a child, and the child just begins to slide down. So I always say to parents, if you're going to make any major change in your home, always get your children involved in that change. If the change is important, make sure that you get them involved. I've seen families who relocated and the children are frustrating their life. You would think they relocated from Nigeria to UK or Nigeria to US or Canada and the child will be happy. No, they are frustrating their life because this child wants to come back to Nigeria. So don't assume that, yes, the decision is amazing, the decision is beautiful, but please don't ignore your children when you know they can comprehend, when you know they can assimilate, when you know they can speak about it, when you know they can throw tantrums about it. Get them involved in that decision.
It is necessary to carry them along. Ask for their opinions, their feelings about about anything you're about to do, and any change that is about to happen in the house.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. We can't just afford to take them for granted and just say they're children anyway. Okay, so while media, let me digress a little bit into media and technology. So while media and technology have come to stay, like we all know, and we know that new programs will keep being invented, whether we like it or not. How do we keep our children safe from the stuff that can damage their development, physically, emotionally, psychologically, mentally? How do we keep them? I think this is the heart cry of every parent. How do we keep these children safe?
So I think a lot of parents have realized that the gadget is no longer to keep them busy. So a lot of parents are actually taking proactive steps. I know that a lot of educative, a lot of enhancing entertainment, a lot of intentional teaching and deliberate growth and development, complete development, psychological, emotional, spiritual, social programs are actually out there. And I know that there are a lot of apps or technology that can be used, especially when they are minors, when they are underage, to block some certain sites your children should not go to, or your children should not visit. So I don't know how many people saw this. I think this happened in the US, where a bus driver suddenly had, I think he had an heart attack or something while he was driving. And it was a 13-year-old boy or so who went to where the driver was sitting and pulled the brakes and every other thing. And they interviewed every other child on that bus. And every one of them said, oh, I was on my
Yeah.
phone, I was watching a cartoon, I was playing a video and all that, game and all that. And they asked the parents of this child, why is it that it was just your child that noticed phone? I said, because it doesn't have a cell phone. And I immediately said, when you don't have a that child didn't have a cell phone, increase the child's ability, intuition for observation.
Yeah.
The child had no choice but to be looking out of the window and be looking at the driver. And it was just that child that noticed. And the child shouted, someone call 911. Now, when you understand the things that are happening out there, you would take proactive steps with the technology on ground today to know how you want to preserve your child's mental harmony and their emotional bliss. Even as an adult, there are places I would not go. There are things that will pop up on Instagram, I will pull out away. I will just shove it off. So some people think, Twitter is the most sanest of all places when it comes to social media. Twitter is the most craziest place, one of the, if not the most craziest place. Not because of the things that are being said on Twitter, but the groups that they have on Twitter. On Twitter, you'll find groups like 80s group. You have 80s group, you have lesbian group, you have gay group. On Twitter, that is where you have the over 20 different kind of gender identification. The most craziest one happening now is you have people who are saying that they are feeling as if they are physically challenged in human beings. So you have someone who went to put, maybe it is hypo or something in her eyes because she felt that she was blind.
To be blind, yeah.
Yes, you have another one who cut off the hand because this person felt so. Crazy things are happening. And until your child gets to a certain age that you are sure, extremely sure, that can take technology, you may have to take some strict measures on what your child is seeing and sites they're going to.
So, Zuriel, are we saying that we shouldn't give our children phone, just like this, the example of the parent that we cited in the video? Because I know that that's...
I am not. I think each parent, I don't think each parent has to decide what they want to do with their children. But my counsel, my professional counsel would be a 4-year-old child, an airplane. You take that child to the airport, put the child in the plane and put the child in the cockpit, and you sit down in your economic class or your first class, and you strap your belts. You might think yourself in the next 2 minutes. Heaven or hell. There's no two way about it. So, as a parent, ask yourself before you give your child a gadget, why am I giving my child this gadget? What are the things that would most likely come out? I'm not saying giving them gadget is bad. No, it has actually done a lot. It has saved a lot. But the gadget you're giving to them, is it age appropriate? Some of you, I'm not saying I'll take your children's phone so that you don't have high blood pressure. Some of you, if you go to children's phone, you can't access it. When they password their WhatsApp is passworded. Now you can't even access their gallery. Their gallery is passworded now. So there are some things you just need, and you need to continue to have a conversation with them. Deep-seated conversation. Deep-seated conversation with your children.
Yeah, thank you so much. I remember when my girls were growing up, and this issue of phone. Well, what I did then, which I believe can still work, is that I didn't give them phone until a certain age, because I read that even Bill Gates didn't give his own daughter phone until 14, you know. So I just, of course, they were using my phone to a certain, extent. And after some time, I think they were in their going to like maybe SS2, I gave them occasionally, and I gave them with rules. That's no passwords, no this, you don't take your phone to you, just as much as possible, try and put some things in place, try and monitor. Don't just leave them, in their own world. You will see a GSS was a primary school child. You are giving that person a phone, that child a phone with
internet enabled.
Internet enabled, no precaution, nothing. And you just expect that everything will be fine. So I think a lot has to do with us as parents, just like you have rightly said. So thank you so much for that. And even as we round up this afternoon, because we can go on and on and on, and we won't still finish when we are talking about this, this issue, because it's a lot. But finally, I want to ask you that as a family life practitioner that you are, what interventions do you think are effective in addressing the needs of troubled children? And how would you approach supporting and helping them? Then how do you even develop rapport with them?
Okay, so thank you. That's a major one. One of my major interventions with humans generally is using play therapy. Is using play therapy to work with troubled children. And because with play therapy, you're able to get them express that thing that they may ordinarily not want to say verbally. Yes. So because in play therapy, you have art therapy where they're able to draw, where they're able to show their emotions, their feelings at that point in time, basically. Then also trying to, so when there is an attachment disorder, trying to use, find out what kind of attachment disorder they may be battling with. Then also use CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, with them to work with them. Then talk therapy is amazing. Talk therapy is amazing because when you talk, they will give you an answer. From their answer, you're building. You're building what your next question, you're building your next space with them. So basically, and because it now depends on the kind of challenge the child is coming with. The kind of challenge the child is coming with, basically. And so sometimes you find out that it is not even the child that is even having the problem, it's the parents. So you're bringing every one of them into therapy, you're bringing them into session. Every one of them, you're bringing them into session to work with them.
So it's necessary for us to involve the family members.
Absolutely. You can't work with a child without working with the support system. Because when you take out their biggest support system is their family member or their guardian. Yes. Because when they come into session with you, children, you can't spend more than 45 minutes, even much with children, because they get distracted. So you are playing, you are gisting, you are doing session with them. When they go back home, that same home can mess up whatever you have done with that child. So you must get their support system into that session also. You can't do addiction without getting the parent. You can't do suicidal ideation without getting in the parent. You can't, a behavior as little as, you feel your child has been consistent in telling lies. Where did that child tell lie? How did the child learn the lie? Because you've forgotten that when you tell to your child, I'm going, mommy, where are you going to? Oh, I'm just going down there. I'm coming back in the next 5 minutes. Your 5 minutes has turned to 3 hours. You have turned a seat to that child. So the child picks up something from you, or the child sees you pick money from your husband's pocket, or the child sees you pick out something from mommy's thing, this thing, and mommy comes, mommy laughs about it, or you come, the child is picking things. So every one of them has to come into that session. That is straight to your work.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know we can go on and on and on, but we just have to, put a stop to it here because of our time. But I don't know if anyone has any other question very quickly so that I can take it in 1 or 2 minutes before I hand over to our dear moderator. I can't see any question in the chat room anymore. So I think if you have further questions, they will come and contact the play therapy.
Is Yetunde Williams here? Is Yetunde Williams here?
I'm not so sure. She here?
Is Yetunde Williams here?
Yes, she is.
She is. Okay, please let me, when it comes to, let me recommend Yetunde Williams. When it comes to technology, gadgets with children,
internet and all of that.
Yes. Yetunde Williams is an expert on it. Yes, she's a pro, and I know she has a lot of apps, so many apps that she's always introducing and also talking about that can be used for children, like for minor, when it has to come to you protecting your children's gadgets and also protecting their destiny and their future. So yes,
yeah, she's thanking you for the recommendation. All right, okay, so over to you.
We have one person, Doyen School. We have Doyen School. Her hands are
okay. Up to yeah. Okay. Please go ahead. I didn't see the hands. Please go ahead and ask your question. Doyen School. Please unmute yourself and ask.
Your hand is up.
Question. Yeah. Do you have a question? Doyen School. Maybe it's a mistake or something.
Okay, it's not a mistake. Good afternoon.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon.
For a moment, I couldn't unmute myself.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Ziria. God bless you for being awesome always. I couldn't type because I'm on the wheel. I just want to take my question from the video illustration you shared with us of the young boy that was the only one in the bus without a phone, and he was able to rescue the others. So I'm just imagining how that boy was feeling while every other child was on their own gadgets and they were busy, playing games, and he didn't have one. Obviously not because the father couldn't afford it, but because they said no. So I'm picking my question from there because quite a lot of parents do not want to hurt their children. They do not want to make their children unhappy, in quotes. They want their kids to be happy. They live for children. They just really over pamper. And what you keep hearing is, don't mess with my child's self-esteem, 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 self-esteem. So this self-esteem thing is becoming really overrated as far as I'm concerned. And I'm just wondering, where do we draw the line between disciplining children, between, being futuristic in our approach, in our handling of kids, and pampering them and giving them, not giving them all that they want right now. Parents seem not to be able to delay gratification for their children. They seem not to be able to tell them no. They just really want to make them happy all the time. And even as educators, while you are trying to push your idea to them, the reason why they should say no sometimes, some of them can actually withdraw their children from your school. Like you're too strict. That's not the way they want to raise their children. Their kids come first, and you don't mess up with their self-esteem and all of that. And sometimes, like, look, these kids are not eggs that we break. Can we allow them grow up properly? Can we let them do what they can do for themselves? Do not, so how do we draw the line between this self-esteem thing and letting children grow up with some sort of discipline?
Thank you very much. So I think one of the things that shows that some parents themselves are damaged is that they are living their life through their child or through their children. So you find that a parent who lacked so much while he or she was growing up never thought that he or she would get to where he or she is right now, or did not at any point in time anticipated the kind of wealth they're enjoying right now, feel that the only way they can close up the gap while they were young and their own parents were not able to provide those things for them is to give their children what they are giving to their children now. forgetting that their own parent trained them with the capacity of what they were able to train them then. And it was community parenting. Now, back to that child, I am certain that that boy's parents and the young chap would have had that discussion. I looked at the video. The parent didn't look like someone who can't afford a cell phone for that boy. But I'm sure they would have had the discussion to say, this is the reason you can't have a phone now. And for this reason, we need you maybe to face your studies and do that. It does not, most likely, the boy may have a cell phone at home and may be using the parent's cell phone at home, but he's not allowed to take the cell phone to school.
Yeah.
And that's one heroic act that young man did. That young man saved almost 30 people on that bus. Saved the life of 30 people on that bus. That young man would not regret not having a phone. Back to parents. Parents must understand that the way you lay your bed, that is how you will lie on that bed. Sometimes, funny enough, I did a video recently and I said some parents are running helter-skelter now. From pillar to post, one mountain to another mountain, one church to another church, one imam to another imam, because you realize that the pampering you gave that child has created a monster for you. And it has become so big, you can't deal with the monster you have created. You have used other people's children to train your own child. You have used your uncle's child, your auntie's child to train your own child. Your own child cannot even give you the value you thought you were giving your children. So when you need to ask yourself as a parent, what do I want for my child in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 15 years? Ask yourself, when you are 70, when you are 80, do you want a situation where you still be praying and fasting for your 60-year-old child? Or you want to be running from one mountain to another mountain? Or you want to be entering one therapy or the other therapy for your 45-year-old child, for your 50-year-old child? If your child does not get these gadgets, your child does not get these gadgets today, it does not mean that the life of your child is destroyed. It does not mean. And I would say this: a parent that is unmindful of the stages, their child's development, the stages of growth and development, emotionally, mentally, socially, and spiritually, and all you're just doing, you're spoon-feeding the child. Your child asks for you for iPhone 52, you give. The child says, I want ice cream in the morning, you give. The child says, I want Coke at 7 p.m., you give. The child says, I want to somersault so that I can start rolling. You allow the child. I can tell you for free. When you are 70, God keep you alive. You'll be sorry for somebody in the village that did not create that monster. Discipline. There is love in discipline. There is discipline in love. Discipline is not denying your child self-esteem. Discipline is not denying your child love. Discipline is showing your child love while you are taking the child through some measures that may not be comfortable for that child at that point in time, but will be useful for the child for the rest of that child's life. That's how I explain discipline. A parent that is not disciplined would not know how to discipline their child. You have parents who are in competition with other parents. They go to borrow. Some mothers put pressure on their. So as a parent, what is your own self-esteem? As a parent, who are you as a parent? When you lack discipline, you can't give your child discipline. So you see parents go for 1-year-old birthdays, go for 2-year-old birthdays, and I'm wondering, is it a 1-year-old birthday or a 50-year-old birthday? Because even the parent is more dressed than their own children or their own child that they brought to the party. So dear teachers, dear Doyen School, keep doing what you're meant to do as a proprietor. Some of those parents will come back and blame the school that you didn't teach my child, you didn't do, keep doing what you're meant to do. They know your school values. They know the vision of your school. Sometimes you need to send those to parents themselves. And I know you have been doing it. Send them into counseling, send them into therapy. Some of them are hurting. They are in deep pain. They are hurting emotionally. So they are living their life in their child.
To their child. Thank you so much, Zuriel. Inability to differentiate between love and discipline, and inability to balance these two is always a problem when you're not able to do this as a parent. When you love your child, you just have to keep giving and keep making that child happy. At the end of the day, it's something you might live to regret. Okay, I think we have another person raising our hands. Sandra Success. Can you ask your question? Yeah.
Okay, good day, everyone, and thanks for this meeting. Mine is not a question, but just to lend my own voice, to what is being discussed concerning gadgets. I am a children's teacher, and also I work with children. I'm a coach. So I would just like to mention that when it comes to gadgets, gadgets are very, very important in the 21st century, but we all know that have caused a lot of damage, to the children. So what do we do as parents? Just like the lady that just finished speaking, the main facilitator, she just nailed it. I just want to also add, that being a parent is a lot of intentionality. Many people just go into parenthood without knowing what it is all about. Many people have children without knowing what it takes, to train children. When you have a child, before the child turns to, the video we talked about, that boy should be about 14 years. Yeah. Now, this is a replica of a child who listens to the parent, but it doesn't start at 14. Mm-hmm. That boy didn't start listening. I tell you, if you cannot get your child to listen to you by 14, your child cannot. So this is a family that they have taken time to discuss with their child while he was growing up. So even when your child is 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you need to make him or her to understand why you should not have a phone, why you should be reading your book at this point and at this point, why, yes, the other person is using his phone, but you should not. So if we learn as parents to talk to our children, discipline our children. Thank you also for what you said earlier. Discipline is not when you have beat them, when you have, denied them, but discipline is that at age 2, you tell your child, no, you will not have this. Discipline is about training. Discipline is about educating. Now, as a family, do you have a media guide? Do you have a media guide to say, in this home, we do not watch television for 2 hours. We are not on screen for this number of hours. And you, as a parent, you also role model it. Not that you have put a law that we don't watch television, but you watch what they call those on Z World for 5 hours, 10 hours, and all that. So what is your media plan? That's why I just want to circle on it. Every family must and should have a media plan, which should not start when the child is 7 years or 10 years. When the child is 2, let me tell you, these children, they understand. They know what we're talking about. As they are coming up, do not ever say, my child doesn't know anything. As early as the child is born, from age 1, begin to put in age-appropriate measures. So a child that begins to know that this is how it runs, this is our family value. That boy that is 14 years knows that his family has a value and he's stuck to it. So if your family does not have a value, it's just buy clothes for children. I didn't suffer, so my child will not suffer. Those are talks of people, parents who don't know what parenting is all about, people who don't have values, people who don't know what it takes, to rule these children. So finally, I just want to say, every family should go back. If your children have grown up, you can still, do it. But they say when you bend a bonga fish, you break it. So you don't get too hard when you have not instituted some things. But if you start early, sit your family down, everybody contribute. Let them take ownership. It's not like a rule to come and enforce things. You'll be shocked that your 5-year-old could give you, say, okay, let's do it this way. And you write it out. You want to type it, you want to keep it anywhere. Let it be a guide. So as they are growing up, you're updating it. As they are growing up, by the time they get to 14, I tell you, they will know what is right and what is not right.
Thank you so much, Sandra. There is a whole lot of things to learn about parenting, actually, and we can go on and on. But we just have to put a stop to it at this place. So you already have recommendation. If you want to speak with the healing educator or with Yetu Williams or with any other professional in the house, please go ahead. But at this point, we have to round this up, even as I hand over to